Discovery's American Chopper is one of the most iconic TV series ever premiered, to the point that people still talk about the show's stars several years after its cancellation. While it's undeniable that the show initially attracted fans for the amazing bike customization shown, it's also true that many other loyal fans followed the show for the scandalous family dramas it featured. The scandals that the Tuttles have been through off-camera are as worthy of watching those depicted on TV. Especially in the case of Paul Sr., the family's patriarch has been at the center of controversy for too many reasons, including financial and legal problems. So what has Paul Teutul Sr. been up to these days, and why was he found in contempt? What other scandals have occurred in recent times? What about his business? Keep with us to find out. During the second half of the 2010 decade, Paul Sr. had many financial and legal issues which didn't go any good in keeping him away from controversy. One of his biggest scandals was being found in contempt in 2019 for failing to pay a debt to the business JTM Motorsports. Back in mid-2018, Paul Sr. commissioned the New York City-based automotive shop to customize a Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. It's unclear exactly what modifications Paul Sr. requested from the shop, but the parts used in the car cost $24,000, while labor costs were $27,000. As Paul Sr. failed to pay for the car in the first place, while dealing with his bankruptcy case at the same time, JTM Motorsports stored the car for months, amounting to $10,000 in extra costs. Seeing Paul Sr.'s inability to pay for the car they customized, JTM Motorsports became involved in his bankruptcy case and made a deal with the reality star about releasing $30,000 out of an escrow to pay part of his debt. Though JTM agreed to not request the storage costs of the car, Paul Sr. still didn't comply with his part, failing to pay the rest of the money he owed, leading JTM to go to court again. This eventually resulted in Paul Sr. being found in contempt for $16,968.70 in June 2019. Despite the main details going around Paul Sr.'s legal cases, it's unclear what the fate of the Corvette has been. While being found in contempt by a court was a serious issue, that wasn't the only financial and legal difficulty faced by Paul Sr. in recent years. Paul Sr. filed for bankruptcy in early 2018, claiming inability to pay his multiple debts. According to reports, Paul Sr.'s monthly income was $15,070.93, while his monthly living costs were over $12,000, meaning that he hadn't enough money left to pay his creditors. He was also liable for a $904,448 mortgage cost of his $1.8 million valued mansion in the town of Montgomery, New York State. Other listed assets included dogs, house appliances, and 3 cars. With the imminent foreclosure of his house, almost $1 million in debt, and his business proceedings just barely enough to afford him the lifestyle he was used to, Paul Sr. filed for bankruptcy, Chapter 13, which means that he would have the chance to save his house from foreclosure and make a plan to pay off his debts in the next few years. Nonetheless, in 2019, his case's trustee claimed that Paul Sr. had neglected the case and couldn't pay his debts. Ultimately, Paul Sr. was able to sell his Montgomery house and pay off his debts, but it was a complex case from beginning to end. Paul Teutul Sr. might have saved himself from facing strong legal consequences for not paying his debts, but that doesn't mean that he didn't face other issues along the way. For a start, several months before filing for bankruptcy in 2018, Paul Sr. was sued for fraud by a former business partner. According to documents, he and a man named Thomas Derbyshire were supposed to launch the show Orange County Choppers American Made in 2015, with Derbyshire agreeing to pay $3 million for 51% of the project's ownership. However, Paul Sr. allegedly broke the agreement by requesting a 50-50 deal, on top of breaking parts of its contract by purposely stalling production and entering into unauthorized side deals with third parties, though Paul Sr.'s lawyers denied any fault for their client in the case. It's unclear what happened to the fraud lawsuit, but it didn't take long for Paul Sr. to find himself in court again. In 2020, he faced a lawsuit for copyright infringement after he and his son Michael used a photographer's work without authorization in merchandise for the show and business, and after being found guilty, were ordered to pay $258,484.45. Following his long and exhausting record of legal and financial issues, Paul Teutul Sr. closed the iconic Orange County Choppers location that we got to know for years in American Chopper. The shop officially closed its doors in March 2020, just a couple of months before the premiere of American Chopper: The Last Ride, which featured Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. working together for the first time in over a decade. Said spinoff also focused on the closure of Orange County Choppers, as the demolition of its main building was getting close. The building wasn't demolished in the end, with a local news station 107.7 GNA reporting in early 2023 that it had just been abandoned. So Paul Sr. then opened a new business location in St. Petersburg, Florida, having found a business partner with whom he agreed to build a new customization shop, a restaurant, and a bike museum. Regarding his reasons for leaving old New York to establish himself in Florida, Paul Sr. affirmed that the climate played a big role in his decision and a less burden of taxation. All in all, it seems that Paul Teutul Sr. is finally able to leave behind the many complex moments he lived in recent years to enjoy the warm East Coast with a new business. But don't hold your breath, trouble may still follow him around. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.